Hi, I am Gunjan. I call myself the self-proclaimed spicy storyteller. I help coaches, consultants, and founders with their LinkedIn branding and ghostwriting. And with this, my idea is to have like a summer LinkedIn Spice obsession, which is a series of LinkedIn's lives. A LinkedIn live series, and it's called the Summer Spice. And I'm so glad to be kicking off the session with Jasmine today. And as all of you must already know who Jasmine is, but as a good host, my role is to introduce him. So Jasmine has built a very highly engaged audience of almost 320K. I don't know. I lost count when I spoke to him about this. It was like 300K something. But the point is, he's also one of the top LinkedIn creators. And more than just being the top, he's also, I feel like, one of the more trusted person, at least to me. Like, I know if it's coming from Jasmine, as I call him the son of LinkedIn, I know I can trust him with, what the news is coming from. So during the session, we will have a conversation. I'll throw some questions to Yasmin, and everyone here, please feel free to ask your own questions, and we'll spotlight the questions, like the spicy ones, and bring it to Jasmine here. So, Jasmine, let's start. Do you have something to say with for the audience here?
First off, I got to say thank you for the introduction. I was just listening, to all the compliments, to everything. Thank you so much. I'm not a self-proclaimed anything, just so you know. I just do what I do, and we try to do it well. And I'm very much looking forward to doing it live, just so you know, because I haven't done a LinkedIn Live since they killed LinkedIn Audios. And I used to do those really well and really frequently. I used to love LinkedIn Audio. But yeah, no more audios, unfortunately. And today, whatever you guys want to talk about, even if we take questions from everyone, anyone who's watching right now live on LinkedIn, just drop a question in the comment. We can pick the comment, we'll answer it live on the show. We can talk about anything, everything, literally. Low reach, commenting, how to get more leads, summer slumps, right? That's coming. That's already here, basically. Burgers, travel, keynotes, writing, selling, whatever you guys want. I'm game to talk about anything. Obviously, I live and breathe LinkedIn, so that's my life. So at this point,
Perfect. Thank you so much. So let's start. We started with you have a very highly engaged audience of 320K. But if you had to start from zero tomorrow, like June 2025, what is one thing that you would do differently probably for the next 6 months?
That's a good question. What would I do differently? Honestly, not much. And I'm not saying I always did everything right, but I feel like the ups and downs are part of the journey. And there's too many people who just want to do the perfect thing every single time. It's not possible. And this is what gets them to give up really, really soon. And I see it as a big mistake where, creators, CEOs, folks who have been in the game for years and decades, they come to LinkedIn, they have something to offer, in their own worlds outside of LinkedIn. They're already well positioned, they're already well respected. But then on LinkedIn, they're just like, you know what? I expect respect. And you can't expect anything to happen on LinkedIn. You got to build it up and you got to earn it. The biggest thing, this answer has always been the same for me that I would do 100% is spend 80, 90% of my time in the comments, everywhere, literally. All the regions you want to be known in, all the regions where your clients live in, be there actively. I feel like one of the biggest mistakes, I spoke about this in a post just a couple of days ago, actually. One of the biggest mistakes that people make here is they jump into this echo chamber, and it's always the same people. It's always the same folks, right? You find like 10, 20 creators who you really like, and then you just get used to reading their content every day, engaging with their content every day, which at face value, there's no problem with that, right? Like you love the content and you obviously love to engage with that, right? It's something interesting, it's something relevant and relatable. But the problem begins when you can't outgrow that network. You're literally always in the same little bubble. Like it's an echo. Like it's just instant. That's all you hear and that's all you'll ever hear. You can't go anywhere outside of that bubble. So what I keep telling people is always find new folks every single day. Find two, three, five, doesn't matter how many folks in relevant regions, that's number one, and then relevant industries, that's number two, and then on relevant topics, to follow and whose posts you're going to support. And then the next step is obviously you want to send them a connection request. You want to be in their DMs. And there's also a big mistake that people make when it comes to adding connections. And I really need to speak about this more. We are told to, add 5 or 10 connections every day, like because that's going to contribute to your follower count, right? Connections count as followers. The problem begins when those connections are not active. So they're gonna accept your connection request. They're going to be part of your follower base. So you may grow and grow and grow like 5K, 10K, 20K followers, but the engagement on your posts still the same, right? It's not moving anywhere. You're not growing. And that's a problem only because folks are adding inactive connections to their network. Huge problem. Huge red flag in my book. If you're going to add someone to your network, make sure they're actually contributing to your network. They're not just sitting there, right? That's old LinkedIn. That's a CV parking, a distant old digital contact book. That's what LinkedIn used to be. You were just adding people and you were never talking to them. So why are we still doing that now? We're literally adding people to our networks, and yet we're never engaging with them because they're not the most active, and they sure as hell aren't engaging with us. So I'd stop right there for a single moment, but I feel like the answer is almost always in the way you engage with others and the way you network with others. So yeah.
Right. So that brings me to another question, like especially when I see like some founders, they are not active online, but they're probably just lurking around. So what do you have to do? Like probably they are in your ideal client's profile, but they are not very much active on LinkedIn in terms of engaging and just probably lurkers. So what do you have to say? Like people who might be your ICP or your ideal client, but they are still not active. Would you still add them to your network, or what is your tip on how to handle this kind of people?
I would send them a message first, not a connection request. And I'll tell you the reason why. Whenever you send someone a connection request on LinkedIn, they only see it in the little connection request tab, right? And it's a problem because I know for a fact not everyone checks their connections, especially when they log into LinkedIn. They're going to check their feed, they're going to check their notifications, but the connection tab, like whatever LinkedIn calls it now, check in or whatever it's called right now, they don't check that. But when you send them an email, when you send them a message, not a connection request, a message, they will get notified. Like they will literally get a separate notification, even on their phones, that you have sent them a message. So I always say, whatever you were going to say in the connection request, say it in a message first. And then when it makes sense, like, oh, they've responded, you actually built a relationship. You know this person is active. You know they're going to respond, right? Then you add them as a connection, not before. I mean, at this point, I'm probably, not doing that myself just because I don't need to anymore. But the question was framed as like, what would you do at the very beginning? How do you reach out to those people, right? The other part of the equation is ICPs. Like, I feel like I could write a book on ICPs, right? Because there's a misconception. Whenever you get this question that's, who's your ICP? And then you say, oh, CEOs. Okay, where? The UK, where? Specifically London area. Okay, which kind of industries? I don't know. E-commerce. Okay. And then you're going to look for every possible e-commerce CEO in London, right? The problem now is they're still not active. It's a huge problem. But the misconception is you only are chasing your ICP. That is a lie. Your ICP is just one person, right? Ideally, who you're going to be working with. If they're not active, take a look at their network, literally their workspace, their office, the office next door, the building that they're working in. Who is next to them? Meaning, who can make an introduction? Are those people active? The easiest hack on LinkedIn is when you visit your ICP's profile and then you add them as a connection, you send them a DM or whatever, and nothing happens because they're not there, they're not active. Go to their company page. Go to their company page and click on people, meaning check out all the employees who are working at that company and then check who's also in London, who's active. Check out their profiles manually. Yes. Check out who's posting, who's active, who's engaging. Those are your ICPs on LinkedIn, not the CEO that you think you need to convert, right? These are the guys you're trying to close. These are the guys you're sending messages to. These are the guys you're like, hey, could we jump on a call? I have something for the company, right? And then it's like, Could you make an introduction to Jeremy or whatever the name is
Hmm.
of that CEO? So it's always a question of the network of the ICP,
Hmm.
not necessarily the ICP
ICP.
themselves. It's a huge misconception.
Wow. I think I've been making that. Like, thank you for
And then you
shedding
just give
light on
up,
that.
right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
the CEO
Mhm.
hasn't responded. And then it's like, let me find another one. And then like another one, another one.
Right.
They're not the most active bunch. Go look for the COOs. Go look for the marketing managers, the social media people. They're the most active. And they genuinely, like at least 80% of them, they do have access to the managerial teams. They
Mhm.
do have access to the C-suite. Speak to them because they're going to be the most active on LinkedIn. That is how you do it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, so moving on, knowing more about LinkedIn, I think you have been on the platform for more than 5 years now, is it? And of course, we must have changed a lot of, seen a lot of changes, like, platform changes, trends coming in, going out. So what do you think is the one thing that is working right now, which was probably not working last year?
Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, I feel like it's the other way around. What's not working this year that used to work,
You can tell us that.
right? Because there's loads of things that used to work,
Mm,
right? You could just throw up a random carousel. Carousels used to get a lot of reach, and it was true reach, like actual
mhm,
reach, not the gifted video reach that we used to see.
mhm,
And then it's like, videos, and LinkedIn was pushing video, and it was actually gifted views. I don't believe those views were real. They weren't. Um, but right now, I feel like more than ever, it's about not necessarily writing content that's super niche and
mhm,
super specific and so super, I want to say, almost tone deaf to the wider
mhm,
audience that you're trying to attract. And I've been talking about this for years, and we've seen this in the algorithm reports. We've seen it whenever our like the clients that I coach, the members of my link up community, whenever we do this, we see how the impressions are different. And
mhm,
I get tagged in similar posts a lot where someone is going to screenshot their top performing posts from their
mhm,
analytics, and it's like one post, two posts, three posts, right? Seemingly it's like there's no difference. It's just text only, text only, text only
mhm,
for them in their minds. But then
mhm,
I take a look and I'm like, this one has the broadest appeal. This one doesn't have that niche of a focus.
mhm,
It doesn't have a super niche topic. Example, if you're talking about how to write posts on LinkedIn, that's
mhm,
super niche. But
mhm,
if you're talking about how to improve your writing, not
mhm,
LinkedIn posts, your writing,
mhm,
slightly broader, right? But then you can go even broader.
mhm,
Psychological tips that are going to improve your communication, no matter which niche you're in, right? We're going broader and broader and broader. Typically, these broader posts perform a lot better. And it's actually really simple. It's not the algorithm. It's
mhm,
because it simply has a broader appeal. It has a much bigger audience that that post is speaking to. So, in a nutshell, just it's basic maths, right? People are scrolling through the feed, and then you tell them, "Oh, this is only about LinkedIn writing." I don't
mhm,
care, right? Like I'm just gonna write whatever I write. But then you say, "Oh, this is about your writing in general," and then it's like, okay, more interest. Not necessarily LinkedIn. Maybe it's websites, email. I want to improve my writing. But then you say psychology that makes you a better communicator, and it's like all the C-suites, all the leadership, all the students, right? Everyone's all of a sudden in tune with that content. So I feel like that's something that's been true over the years, but now, especially now, it's truer than ever. And we see it. The way I kind of coach it is start broad, but then the examples you use, those can be niche. Those can be super niche. You could talk about bolts and bolts you use to screw something in, right?
mhm,
That doesn't matter if the beginning is super broad. If you're going to tell me, right, um, how to think on your feet without having the right tools, super broad post.
mhm.
But then the example you're using is like literally how to repair a boat. It's still going to be an interesting example
Mhm,
because the topic, the angle you used is so broad. So that is one thing that still works. That is one thing I believe that's always going to work. Because again, it's not an algorithm hack, it's a people hack. Just because you're speaking to more people at once and you're not alienating them. Now, there's a second conversation here.
mhm,
Should you always do this?
mhm,
Should you always like welcome this super broad audience where like a lot of them will still not be your ICP? I'd say 90% of the time, yes. 10% of the time, no. You still need like those narrow kind of focus posts where you do want to alienate some people, right? Like you don't want just about everyone
mhm,
in your LinkedIn community, right? In your following. But the problem I have with some coaches teaching like it should be 90-10, like you should
mhm,
always be speaking to your ICP and always go niche and niche beginnings, niche keywords, niche this. The problem is you have zero growth.
Hmm.
You just can't grow because what you're telling people as they're scrolling, they're following you, they're connected with you. This post is not for you. This post is not for you. I'm speaking on this niche topic. I'm speaking on this niche topic. You're telling them literally, this is not for you. But when the hook is slightly broader, you bring them into your world. You make them interested. And then no matter how niche your examples are, you can still keep them motivated, reading till the end, engaging with your content. Now, the more people engage, the broader it goes, the better the reach, the better the network. I feel like it's a mistake if you always just go niche, 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 niche.
Hmm.
You can't grow that fast, or genuinely, you can't grow at all in certain scenarios. And it is a huge problem that I see. I see it in the feed all the time. It's like someone is writing a post about something that could genuinely help a lot more people, but they choose to just call out this one little group in the hook. And it's like, you're missing out on all of these people. We were just talking about the ICP
Hmm.
conversation, right? If you're
Right.
just talking to the CEO and not everyone at the company, they're not going to get interested. Like you're missing out on a whole lot more prospecting, especially, DMs from people and new connection requests and ultimately reach. So long answer, probably a, tad bit
Hmm.
more strategic and psychological, but it takes practice to master this kind of writing where you're speaking to a lot of people, but you're still, using niche examples and niche strategies. So, hey, you do
Wow.
what you can.
Wow. Wow, that was like a mini masterclass in itself, Dan. So thank you for sharing that.
Most welcome.
So we have few questions from the audience, and this is one which will probably help us welcome you in your world. So Zen here asked, like, if you don't mind asking me, Jasmine, like, do you quit? Why did you quit rapping? Because you had no choice. I'm just curious, and what inspired you to move into teaching? Because the paths, of course, are very different.
That's a good question. I quit rapping. For those of you who don't know, like maybe someone's watching this for the first time, they're like hearing about like rapper, what? I used to be a rapper before I became a digital marketer. To be fair, it was kind of at the same time because I was doing digital marketing for myself for 5 years while I was a rapper. I didn't know it at the time, but I was managing my own website, my own socials. I was writing posts. I was designing like album covers and everything. Right? I was speaking, to the media people, emails, PR. I was doing everything myself. So I was doing digital marketing for 5 years very successfully. I just didn't know that's what it was called back then. But I quit music because it did not align with my lifestyle. And everyone who's been in my circles, they know this. Like they know exactly when I quit. It was after like this one very specific concert. It was a festival where we went to and we had a concert there. And it was just a lot of alcohol. I've never drunk a sip of alcohol in my life. I've never
Wow.
drunk. It was a lot of, drugs and just stuff happening between people, strangers, body on body, that kind of action. I was never that kind of party person. So that was a big wake up call. And it was like the more I grew media wise, the more I grew popularity wise as a musician back then, the more I was invited, the more I toured, the more people I was exposed to. But it was people like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm either going to dig myself deeper into a hole where it's like a point of no return and a point of no escape. And I'm like, you know what? This is the time to just call it quits. And we were like at the pinnacle of the career, like the
Wow.
best album possible. We were on MTV. We had a music record deal. We had everything basically at that point. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to live this life. I just don't see myself there. I got disgusted by the world of music and I quit music because of that. It did not align with my lifestyle, with my beliefs, with who I wanted to be. And I just quit quite literally at the pinnacle of my career. I dropped my last album. That was 2015. Yes, 10 years ago. I dropped the last album on Facebook and I was like, here are all the music videos. It was like this beautiful post. Like I was still writing posts. Like
Wow.
that's what I'm telling you. The beautiful post. Here's all the streaming links. Here's all the music videos. You got 2 weeks. And
Wow.
then I'm done. And it literally was like that. It was 2 weeks. And at that point, I just locked up my YouTube. I pulled everything down. No video, no song ever. Like all the hundreds of songs we released, I just shut off everything. I shut off from the world as a musician. The media was calling because I had lots of friends. Even today, like I got a lot of friends here in the media. They were just calling, like, just give us an interview or something. I'm like, nope, I am done. I don't want to be known in this world anymore. And that's when I focused full time on teaching, and we did super successfully. As an educator, it was an amazing job. But it's a long story, but I was already too deep in the digital marketing world at that point. So I was like choosing, do I keep pursuing something that really doesn't have a big future, meaning education? You're kind of like always in the same spot, right? You're doing it out of passion. Or do I go somewhere where I can genuinely grow and help my family and help a lot more people? And that's when I quit education and I pursued everything we're doing now. So yeah, that's the long story short. I feel like it wasn't a short story, but there you go, guys. Someone asked, so there's your full
Wow.
story. You're gonna have the replay
That's
afterwards, so you can watch this back.
Wow, that's inspiring.
Good
Like,
question.
and especially, yeah, and especially like starting from scratch when you already had made your name and like that kind of recognition and fame. So I think it takes really courage to like again start from scratch. Like, kudos to you. Amazing. So we'll take another question here, which goes back to our topic on ICP and network. So Sajil here asked here if I made a mistake by adding so many people in my network. Now that is, I think it hurts my reach and my network is populated. So what do you think I should do? Should I remove them?
Don't waste your time removing the old
Hmm.
network because they're going to get deprioritized anyhow when
Okay.
you add relevant and active. Again, I can't stress this enough, relevant and active. A lot of people are doing the first part, they're adding relevant connections. The problem is your connections are not active, so they're contributing nothing to your reach. And we already know this, like from the algorithm research and what LinkedIn has told us, the way posts are distributed, the way LinkedIn sends posts, at least that's what we know, is first to your first degree network. They're going to be the ones that are going to see your post first. And it makes sense, right? Whoever you're connected with, they're the closest people to you. And LinkedIn is thinking, right? If the people closest to this person do not like their content, why should we push it further to second and third degree networks? Why should we? But now you can actually kind of manipulate the situation by only adding active connections, right? So if the people, this is by the way, the sunlight, I thought my microphone was dirty. Um, if you're only adding active connections now, it feels like, oh my God, like 80, 90% of your first degree network connections are engaging with your post. So now LinkedIn is thinking, okay, let's push it further. Let's push it to a second degree. Let's push it to the third degree. And this is how you get more reach, right? Because LinkedIn is actively pushing your content out there and you're not limiting your own reach by adding inactive connections. Because just think about it. Again, it's basic maths, right? If 80% of the people who do see your post, but they're lurkers, they're never engaging, they're never writing a comment, they're never doing anything, LinkedIn is thinking, okay, 80% of the people we've shown this to, they don't like it. We're not going to push it further. But if it's the other way around, 80% of the people we've shown this to already, they do like it. Let's push it further. So don't bother wasting your time deleting old connections. Don't bother. It's a waste of time. Only focus on the new ones and make sure they are both relevant and active, not just relevant. Okay. That's my answer.
Okay, I think after this call, the first thing I have to do is see my network and see like who are these active people, not, and then probably add the people who are active and relevant. Anyways, moving on. So a lot of people that I follow and I see like are like small creators, probably like people who are just starting out and probably they are a bit like below 100K followers. So what do you have to say for someone who is starting out in 2025 and they want to become like a hot authority in the niche in 2025? What should they do?
Post about career stories and job stuff, whatever. That always works. No, but like if you're not, that's a hack always on LinkedIn because LinkedIn,
Mm,
it used to be a job platform. It used to be a career platform. There's like half of the features are built for recruiters and job hunting. So if you're posting on that, you're always going to grow. Like I know creators who are in XYZ industries, right? They could be LinkedIn coaches, but like 90% of their following was built on posts that were career stories, right? It wasn't LinkedIn tips that got them here,
mhm.
that following. It wasn't. It really wasn't. It was just career stories and inspirational leadership quotes and things like that, because that stuff is always going to fly on LinkedIn. And you see it a lot, right? There's a lot of leadership accounts on LinkedIn. There's a lot of folks talking about job searching and like employees this, employers that. That stuff always works. That stuff always goes viral, especially if you can kind of find a unique angle that connects it to a more active audience, depending on who you already have in your network, right? If you're mostly connected to Gen Z folks, you can say, you've worked with Gen Z folks, and here's where everyone is wrong about Gen Z. It's like, oh, okay, there we go. That's a viral post, right? And then it just spreads out, right? Like wildfire. It goes viral. Um, that's the kind of thing that it's the easiest thing to do, but I also see it as a big mistake because you're only doing it for the virality of it. And then what ends up happening is you still build this huge network, right? 80,000, 100,000 followers, 200,000, however many you want, but then you don't get the engagement still. There's no trust. And I've seen this. I've had clients genuinely with 500,000 followers. They come to me, they pay for the coaching, they come on the call and they're like, Jay, I'm doing all of this, right? Every post goes viral. Every post at that point, it goes viral. But then they're like, but I'm not making any money off LinkedIn. And I'm like, well, I know why. Because you're not speaking to your audience, your target audience at all. You're just trying to go viral as much as you can. So this is all a very long-winded answer to say followers matter, but not to the extent of, oh, if I have more followers, I'm going to be able to build a business. Not necessary. Followers are not necessary for you to build a business. You could build a thriving business with just 1,000 followers, 5,000, 10,000, genuinely. And I see it all the time. I see all those accounts, right, that are thriving. They're making a boatload of money out there, and they do not have a lot of followers. The secret is they're actually very, very mindful with their engagement, with who they add to their content, and how they actually write, how they speak in their content, right? There's a broader appeal, but there's niche topicality, right? And long term, I feel like a lot of people realize at a certain point, like the more you are chasing this high of more followers and more viral posts, like it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make you that fulfilled. It's much better if you have like average engagement on a post, but you get leads consistently versus you go viral all the time, but you don't get leads consistently. Right. And I've asked this question to a lot of people, especially in my workshops and my keynotes when I go, travel around the world and I'm speaking to a lot of people. And there's only been like one or two cases where someone was blatantly, very openly honest. Like, I would take the followers. Like, it's good for my ego. I need it. Right. But I'm like, the question I asked immediately, like, but what about the money? And they're like, I got enough money. I got a good salary. Right there. I'm like, that's your thing. You don't necessarily need the clients, right? But like 99.9% of people, they do need the clients. So focusing on virality for that kind of person just doesn't make sense, right? Once in a while, like one post out of 30, okay, I'll forgive you, right? As a coach. But like if you're doing it 25 times out of 30, I'm like, I'm going to shout at you. I'm going to tell you something on our next call, right? I'm going to tell you, stop doing this. We need to make you some money, right? So again, very long answer. I'm very passionate about this just because I see people making these mistakes all the time, right? They chase virality, they chase all these viral topics. I just gave you the secret. Genuinely, just write about career stories, employers, employees, doesn't matter what it's CEOs, leadership. You're gonna go viral at some point. Just keep doing that. There's loads of accounts doing that, and then they're like pushing it to a newsletter, and then it's like this whole newsletter scheme, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, that always works. But you can go viral with your own stuff. One of the untapped parts of LinkedIn right now, we've seen it with video specifically. We now see it with breakdown posts, very strategic posts, how to and how I posts, is super small niches, super duper small niches are going super mega viral. Why? Because in those very small niches, there's not a lot of creators. There are a lot of users. There are a lot of lurkers. There are a lot of folks who are reading content, right? They're logging into LinkedIn every day, except they're not posting anything themselves. So when one of their own posts something like, here are 10 types of bolts that we use on the back of our smartphones. And I'm like, what the hell? What kind of post is this, right? But then it's like all the tech engineers, like the actual engineers, right? They're commenting, they're going crazy, like they're reposting. I'm like, I told you guys, this is what we do at this company, this is what we do at this factory. And I'm like, well, where the hell are you guys? Like, why aren't you posting? Right. And then I was tagged in a post like 2 weeks ago, I think. There was a lady from Slovenia. I was giving a keynote for them like several times already. And they already know me. And whenever they have like algorithm problems or like things they need explanations on, like they'll tag me in a comment like, Jasmin, how do you explain this? One of the things was like one of my posts got like, I don't know, 600,000 views. And like all the other ones are like 10,000, 5,000. And I'm like, that's the one that literally lit a fire in your network because no one is talking about it. It's such a small niche. But then you have awakened the crowd. You have now awakened an avalanche of those mini niche creators writing their own posts. So now the algorithm is basically forced to also give attention to them, right? To also pay some attention to them. So you're not going to go all the way viral every single time, but you're still basically the conduit. You're the trailblazer. You're the start of something new.
Mhm.
And I feel like instead of just copying big creators or ideas we already know work, again, like those career stories or whatever, just find a very super cool, unique angle or a very super cool niche. You're probably already part of it. You just don't know it, right? Because it's just an angle and roll with that. Your chances are you're going to go viral just because you're starting something new that no one is talking about. But then when a lot of people relate to it, bam, you start a wildfire. I don't want to, prolong this answer. I feel like I've been speaking for like 10 minutes already. So I'm going
No
to stop
worries.
right here. It's a good question, though. It's a really, really good question. I love the question.
Right. So that brings me to another question when it comes to actually like designing a content strategy. So do you think there is any kind of balance or a blend between topics, like what should be the right or the correct blend between writing topics that go, which has a universal appeal and that go have like a viral effect versus niche topics where you are building your expertise? So what would be you say, like, how do you make a balance between the two?
My community, my link up community, they already know this answer. Every post has
Yeah.
broad appeal and niche appeal. Every post. I don't believe in top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the, I
Mhm.
don't believe in that. I just do not believe in that because every post can be both top and middle and bottom of the funnel at the same exact time. If you
Right.
know how to write well. And obviously we're coaching them how to do the same exact thing. And they know the secret. Like they're thriving with it, right? They're getting the results. So I don't believe in that. Instead, I focus on the type of topicality you're doing. Is it educational? Is it motivational? Or is it like I want to say like slightly over personified, like personal stories, right? But even the personal stories, they can still be top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, right? I don't believe in that whole model, tofu, bofu, mofu. I genuinely don't. For me, it's always better to focus on creating a connection with your audience, having relatability in the beginning of your posts, using very niche examples to showcase your expertise, and then at the very end, like whether you do some calls to engagement for under the post or calls to engagement for them to share some of their problems or whatever, the next step is obviously you're going to reach out to to the people whose problems you can solve in their DMs. But a lot of people will never do that, right? They're just going to say DM me. I'm like, okay, what do I DM you about? Because what you just told me is I made money, they made money, DM money, 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 DM me. I'm like, what do I DM you about? There's no context, right? But if you genuinely tell me, like, let's talk about XYZ topic, what seems to be the thing that's bothering you right now? And then people are openly sharing. And then others, because they're connecting with that, they're going to be openly replying to their comments, right? What do you do next? You don't tell them DM me. You DM them. You reach out because you were the one who started the conversation. And now you can easily tell them, hey, this exact thing that you were talking about, here's a resource that I have. I think is going to be really helpful for you. And then they say, oh my God, it's amazing. 2, 3 days pass. Hey, did you check it out? No, not yet. Can you please check it out? I'm going to write you a message tomorrow. I really want to see what you think. They check it out that night because you've built some urgency. I'm going to give you like a DM funnel immediately, right? And
Mhm.
then you reach out the next day and you're like, hey, did you like it? How was it? And they're going to tell you here, this is what I like. This is the part I'm still confused. And then you're like, could we jump on a call and discuss how maybe I can help you with XYZ? I just need 10 minutes of your time. If you have time today, like just shoot me your number. I'll call you right away. You call them, and then in real time, you're just going to be like, okay, so that question you asked, here's how we usually approach that. That question you ask, here's how we usually approach that. If you would like to get the full story, here's my service. Bam. But it all starts with not ending every single post with DM me,
Yeah.
DM me, DM me, but actually inviting people to open up to you. It all
Right.
starts there. So it's like 7 steps before that until you say, oh, DMs are part of the
Mhm.
process. It's a nice way to sell. It's an elegant way to do lead generation without feeling salesy, without feeling like people have to do things to reach out to you, right? Like you're doing all the work for them. You're making them believe that something's possible. You're putting your clients on a throne and basically telling them, I really want to help you because I know I can help you. Versus, hey, you're just another number to me. DM me, DM me, DM me, and then I'm going to write another money hook because there's a lot of those posts. I'm going to stop right here until I brace myself together
Yeah.
because these sales topics, they're very close to my
That
heart.
is actually that's quite interesting because especially when I see creators, they talk a lot about also income marketing where they're talking about how many figures they are making in their
Which
business.
is okay, by the
Yeah,
way.
which
It's
is
okay
okay.
to
Yes.
talk about
Yeah.
it, but it's like if that is literally the only hook you're ever using, I'm
Mhm.
like, what's going to make me care about you, the person? Like, I still don't trust you because you're only talking to me about the money. I still have nothing to connect with because I've not made that money yet.
Mhm.
I can't relate to it. But if you talk to me about a problem that I've been facing or a mindset shift that I need to make, or you put me in the shoes of someone else, right? Not you, someone else who's very close to me, then I'm going to care. Then I'm really
Right.
going to care. But if it's always like, I made this, I made that, I made this, I made that, it's like no one's going to care. There's no relatability. I feel like that's the part of personal branding that we forget. It actually needs to be personal, right? But not personal about the author, personal about the reader. That's where a
Mhm.
lot of people get it wrong. It's like too much me, me, me. I made this, I did this type of content. They're never kind of bringing it back to the audience or making it at least somewhat relatable. This is why I push people. Like I push every client, I push everyone that I know to talk about some sort of failure, some sort of mindset shift that happened that wasn't a win, right? It wasn't like I made this money, here's a mindset shift. Okay, everyone's gonna brag about some sort of figure, and half of those figures are fake. I'm just gonna go around, go out and say it very openly. Like half of those figures that people are putting
Mhm.
out there, they're fake. Um, Psychology tells us, science tells us, all the research in the world tells us. How do I say this so that it sounds really, really relatable? Again, 99% of people in your network, they can't relate to your wins. They can't. Why? Because they haven't experienced it for themselves yet. They might never experience it. They can't relate to it, right? So you're kind of talking about something that's only relevant to you, hoping that they will like it and they will reach out. But 99% of people can relate to your failures because they've experienced similar failures in their own worlds, in their own niches, in their own industries, in their own jobs. So failure psychologically is always a much better connectivity factor in your writing because everyone's experienced failure, but not everyone has experienced success, especially not success at that level, like the 6 and 7 and 8 figures that people are throwing around. So, just another writing strategy, right? Like, people genuinely should be openly talking about certain things that aren't perfect, certain things that aren't just, hey, I won, I won, I won, I made this, I made that. Failures are genuinely stories, and stories are what connects us as people. And we need more stories in the feed. Like everything just seems like a sales pitch certain days. And that's when I go on my unfollowing spree, like unfollow, unfollow, unfollow. I don't care who you are. I keep telling the same to people, right? It- for my content as well. Like if you don't resonate with it anymore, please unfollow me. If you're not going to like it, you're literally just telling my algorithm,
Mhm.
I'm reading it, but I'm not liking it. So
Mhm.
my algorithm is like, you know what? I'm not going to push it further because this person's reading it and not liking it. And I keep telling him, like, please unfollow, right? Unfollow me because then what's going to happen is I'm only going to be left with people in my network who are genuinely reading my content, who do enjoy the content, and who do want more of that same content. Another passionate answer. I'm going to stop right here.
I love it. I love it. I love that's why I call it, the summer spice. I love the heat here, and so it's good. But moving on, let I want to know more about your writing style. So I have noticed you speak a lot about writing every day, but not necessarily posting every day. So can you just run us a bit on your process? Like, what are these posts that actually makes to the feed and not and which doesn't? And what is like first bad draft version of a Yasmin's post looks like?
I'm the wrong person to ask this question. Genuinely, I'll tell you why. Because we just spoke about me being a rapper back in the day, right? And as a rapper, case in point, case in point, like I got so many different notes and stuff, right?
Mhm.
I'm writing all the time. Like that's just how my brain works. Like I have to write. I have to write. Like there's so many notes I have around me. It's like client notes, like from our calls, like my notes and things like that. When I'm on the move, this is the thing that saves me. My drafts are a mess, authored up. Like all the drafts I have in there for my posts, they're a mess. But to walk you through the process, I basically write every single day. I don't care what kind of idea I have. If it's a question I get in a comment, if it's something I saw in a different comment, someone asked someone else, right? I'm going to think about, okay, how would I approach it? How would I answer this question? Like, what's the one thing I want to tell this person about this particular answer? And I'm immediately going to start writing my posts. I don't care if it's a 5 line post, if it's a 3,000 character post, I'm just going to sit and write immediately. And I do this throughout my day. Some days I sit and I get inspired like all of a sudden, right? And I write like 5, 10, 15 posts genuinely. Certain days I'll write one in the morning, like on the fly, and then I'm driving and then I think of something, I pull over, I'm gonna write that, or I'm just gonna use voice to text, dictate to my phone. Essentially, I am in draft mode 24/7. I don't have a specific time when I just sit down and write. I am in draft mode 24/7. I'm always writing, I'm always thinking, I'm always consuming, I'm always reacting. Now, the kind of content that makes it to the feed, like I publish maximum 4 posts per week. This week I did 3 because I was traveling yesterday. I didn't have time to engage, so I don't want to post. If I'm going to publish a post and I'm not there to engage with my audience, I consider myself a failure. I don't want to publish that post. Just because what's the point of that post? Like people are reacting, people are reading it, and I'm not there. So for me, posting like that, ghosting, right? Ghost, like we call it posting and ghosting. It just doesn't make sense. If I'm not going to be there for my audience, I'm just going to skip a day. That's all. Um, how do I pick the posts? Genuinely, I just wake up and I'm like, how do I feel today? Because like the difference in all of those drafts, right, is I was in a different mind state when I was writing them. Some posts are slightly more, I don't want to say angry, but snarky, right? Like they do have some spice to them. Some posts are like super inspirational, like super vanilla. Some posts are like very teachery, very professorish, right? And like super high level breakdowns. So I guess it just depends on how I wake up in the morning. And typically, like after a very long weekend, like especially when I'm with my son and I spend my daddy son weekend, right? Like Mondays, like I have my trademarked at this point Monday motivation posts, right? Because that's usually when I wake up the most rested and the most motivated. Tuesdays, I feel like when I kind of have a personality dilemma where I'm like, do I drop a big breakdown post or do I drop a personal story? And it's always either or. And then Wednesdays are always for education. Like I go like really hard on Wednesdays. It's like super deep, super high level breakdown posts. And then Thursdays are kind of like Tuesdays where I'm like, it's my last day of the week. Do I post something that's slightly more, lightweight, or do I like really go in? Like today was an example of that. I had a post this morning that was like a personal story. It was a big announcement about my community. It was like something very, wholehearted. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do that next week. I'm gonna wait a little bit more. I don't feel like it this morning. Why? Because I was tired. It was a super busy day, and I was like, I didn't feel like because it was a super busy day, I didn't feel like I accomplished enough. I had like 18 things just this morning on my to-do list, and I was like, you know what? Let me just drop a mega breakdown how-to post. That's gonna make me feel accomplished. So today they got a post that literally said, I do things on LinkedIn that nobody wants to do. Here are 5 that build 7-figure businesses. And then I gave you like 5 things I know that people are not doing those. Breakdown, example, thoughts behind it. So that's how I kind of determine what ends up in the post, as a post and what doesn't. What happens to the rest of the post? That may be a good natural question after this. Like what happens to all of those posts, right? Like because I write hundreds and hundreds and hundreds per week. A lot of them end up as pinned comments underneath my posts, like extra lessons, bonus lesson. Here's another one. Like, or I sometimes just tell my community, like they know this. Like I'll screenshot 2 versions of the same post and I'll tell them, this is what I had, this is what I came up with. This is why I picked A and not B and C. And then I'll just tell them, right? Which one was your favorite, A, B, or C? And then everyone's gonna have like a vote off in the comments. So I try to reuse a lot of that content in my comments, or I try to use it, this is going to sound so weird, as screenshots in my keynotes. Because whenever I'm doing my presentations, right, my workshops and keynotes, I need loads of examples. And I can't save every single post that I need today. Like I can't. Like it's impossible to find sometimes. So I'm like, you know what? If I need a post that explains this particular problem, I'm just going to use one of my own posts, unpublished post. I'm going to put it in authored up. I'm going to screenshot it, and then I'm going to use that as an example. I used to do this for every single carousel that I've done. And then people were like asking, like, when did you publish that post? That's a phenomenal post. And I'm like, I haven't. It's been sitting in my drafts. I just screenshotted it so that it looks like a post, right? But yeah, I try to use all of that content, just not as my main post. So it's kind of part of my content somewhere out there in the world. Long
Wow.
answer. Another one.
Wow. I'm like, yes, that's amazing. But that what really stuck with me is, yeah, you say like you have your angry post and like, from the kind Yasmin we all know on LinkedIn, it's really hard for me to believe that you get angry. So how does your angry post like? And maybe do we get lucky to see that ever?
Well, when I say angry, I typically mean like I react to something that someone else
Okay.
said. For example, like commenting is a waste of time. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Right? Because I got like 700 different proofs that it's not. And then it's like I'm gonna write this best post. It's almost like it's like rappers battling each other, right? And then I'm like, I'm gonna write my best punchlines. I'm gonna write my best comeback. And then I write posts that are like super convincing and super how-to posts. Like that's what I meant when I said angry, right? Like someone writes something and I'm like, I know this is not true. I know you didn't just say this. I know you didn't just write this. So if I disagree with someone, I will typically like write like a educational but like reaction style post. Like it's just my angle, my way of thinking, because I got to prove that this works in my way, in my world, and then I write those. But then again, it's like if I wake up the next morning and I don't feel like it anymore, I'm
Mhm.
not in battle mode anymore, I will never publish that. And there's hundreds, possibly at this point, like after all these years, maybe even thousands of posts that I've written that I've never published. And I don't know if they're ever going to see a light of day. I'm happy to share my screen genuinely. Like we don't have to do it now on this live, but like and just walk you through how my authored up looks like. Like my community has seen this a million times. Like I just open up my screen and I share everything, all the drafts, like my Canva, Frankenstein quotes and faces, and Yasmin holding a microphone, photos. I love to work with content. I love to design stuff. And basically when I'm writing, I'm basically designing like what goes first, what goes here, what goes here. How does it look like visually if I'm going to do any formatting magic tricks and things like that. You can tell I enjoy creating content, right? I love doing it. I love writing, and I don't think I could go a day without writing. Genuinely, like I have to write something, even if it's just like a one-liner that I've thought of. It's just how my brain works. It's how it's been working for the past 15 years. I have to write, otherwise I can't function. It's almost like therapy, genuinely. Like when you're writing and you're just expressing yourself. I love doing that.
Wow, I love it. Thank you for sharing. So we are almost close to the end of the session. So we'll just end with two quick questions. So I would like to know, like, you have been on the platform for a while now, and did you ever have like oh shit moments, like both the good one, like oh shit, I can't believe this happened, and the panic ones, like oh shit, like this is new, like So if you ever had that moments,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Plenty of times, especially with clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you say something to someone and then you go on it. Like this happens to me a lot, even today. Like, and a part of like a lot of my prospects, probably going to recognize themselves in this. I'm going to jump on a call. We're going to talk and we're going to talk about everything. And then I will not speak to them for like 4 or 5 days because I'm traveling, I'm going somewhere. It's like so many things going on and I can't handle everything by myself. And then I come back on like a Sunday evening and I'm like, I apologize. It was a busy travel week. Can we get back to on a, restarting this conversation? But there were some folks, I remember there was this one dude who got so mad that I didn't respond right away. Because again, it just so happened, right? Like I was very responsive on a Monday. I was very responsive on a Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday afternoon I flew out somewhere. I don't know, Denmark or United States. I was flying somewhere, right? I was traveling, and then Wednesday morning I wake up to the most, like to the nastiest message, you XYZ, you XYZ. Like I can't quote certain things. Like there were curse words and everything. Like you think because you have this many followers, you can just ignore people. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, does this dude know I don't have to respond right away? And there were some clients as well, like who were like that, like, like you could have just responded. I'm like, my man, it was an 11-hour flight. right? Like
Well,
11 hours of flying. And then I come there and they're like, I get picked up. I go to the hotel. There's an event, like a mic session. Like you trying things out. Like in the morning, you go and give your keynote. And then after that, I sit down and finally get down to my DMs. But then it's like in that two day period, right? It's like they got mad. Like, you can't treat me like this. I feel like I'm, like the last client on your list. And I'm like, sorry. Like I genuinely don't know what to say in that moment. I'm like, my man, like I have a life too. Like I have the right to be absent at a certain point. Who knows? Something might have happened. It might have been an emergency somewhere, right? But this is also a good telltale of, bad clients and clients to avoid. At this point, I've kind of learned to avoid these types of people. I recognize signals now before I even engage in a working relationship, before I even sign a contract or start coaching them. Like I'm much better at gauging, what kind of personality it is at this point. And it goes for the people you kind of let in your own world as well, right? Like the relationships you have, like the LinkedIn friends, connections, people you comment with, things like that. I guess it goes for everything. You kind of learn as time goes by. But there's also been like really good things. Obviously, I feel like part one of that question is, what's bad? Has it ever happened? Yes. But it's like there's so many good things. I should probably be talking about this more in the content because there's so many unbelievable things that are happening that I myself couldn't believe at a certain point. There was a guy who sent me a message from a company meeting. And they're like, yeah, Yasmin, like they literally just sent me, they were a connection, right? Like, Yasmin, we're in a meeting right now discussing your new post. And I'm like, okay, what's special about that? Thank you guys. Like, right, it means a lot. But then they said, no, no, like the entire company has a meeting because you posted this morning. The CEO follows you, he's a fan, and everything we're doing in our content strategy, he believes you the most. And he said, Yasmin just shared these updates on the newest LinkedIn trends, blah, blah, blah. And he said, this is what we should be doing now. And the CEO called a company wide meeting because of my post. And I'm like,
wow.
how many companies are out there in the world that are actually also doing this, right? It's like their workday is stopping. The CEO read a post and it's like, these are the newest LinkedIn updates. Here's how you can adapt. Here's what you should do. The entire company's like, we had like a 2 hour meeting, they said.
Wow.
Just because you said this, you said that, and then we had to recreate the entire content strategy. And as soon as we did, then it was like back to work normally. And at that point, to me, it was like, is this what influence feels like? Is this what true influence really feels like? Right? When people are genuinely looking at you as the guy, that person, right? The only person, and no one else. Like to the point where you say the smallest thing, because it was a very short post, and they go like, "Oh my God, I need to change everything in my life now," right? There, like that particular example when it was like a company-wide meeting and that CEO called it, like for me, that was like a wow moment. I was like, I can't believe this just happened. Like I shared that screenshot, like that entire message string to all of my friends. I was like, yes, like it's something good, right? It's something good to feel proud about. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it with these two examples.
Wow, I love it. That's so impactful. Like, that's the thing about social media. Sometimes I think we are so much focused on the vanity act metrics and the numbers that we forget about the impact and the influence we create in this sense. So that's really powerful. Thank you for sharing. I have here one question from Hillary, where he talks about where he asked, "Did someone inspire you to write when you were young?"
Tupac and Eminem. Tupac and Eminem. That's it. Those were like the first name I heard. I was still in primary school. I remember this to this day. It was Tupac Shakur. I was watching like satellite TV back then, and someone said Tupac Shakur, and just the construction of that name, it was so non-traditional, right? Unorthodox for like Bosnia or the Balkan region. Like it just sounded like a whole new language. And then I heard like the music, you know, the hip hop songs, and I was like, that was the day I fell in love with hip hop. And I fell in love with writing. And then after that came obviously Eminem, 50 Cent, all them really, really good ones. And I just fell in love with writing. Like I just started expressing myself. Even like primary school, like I was really great at essays and I would always quote rappers in my essays. Primary school. This is not high school and university. This was primary school. I'm like a what, 12-year-old kid quoting rappers in these songs. And at that point, I didn't realize that some of those quotes were very violent. Because you don't understand at that point, right? Like, what do they even mean, right? But it was genuinely Tupac Shakur, Eminem, and 50 Cent. Like those three people are who inspired me to write. And I feel like to this day I carry this hip hop gene in my blood and my body and everywhere. And I just can't stop writing. I gotta write today. Otherwise my day is a failure. I don't know.
Amazing. Maybe we should have like an after work session where she raps for us. That would be
Oh,
something
trust
nice.
me, rappers make the best storytellers. Like, you know
Mhm.
how people do their like LinkedIn breakdown posts? Like, here's
Right.
what made this post go viral. I'm like, you gotta listen to some hip hop guys, because the amount of symbolism, structure, and genuine thought that's put into some of these songs lyrically is just out of this world. For me, it's like I'd much rather see a song breakdown, right? And just take a look at how they're constructing all this. For me, like that's how I'm constructing my posts. Basically, I'm not writing. I'm genuinely constructing, designing, putting things together. There's a nice quote. I think it was Eugene Schwartz, one of the GOAT copywriters. He said, "Copy is not written; it is assembled." And that is so true because you have a draft and you have pieces of the puzzle, right? And then you're like editing and kicking things out that you don't need. You're deleting this, you're killing that, right? And there's the phrase kill your darlings, right? There's something like sounds good, but like for that particular post and that particular content, it doesn't belong there. Save it for another post. So I feel like the rappers do the same thing. They're constructing their lyrics to fit a song, to fit a particular beat, to fit a particular narrative or a topic. And I feel like as storytellers, as content creators, we should be doing the same thing. But some people are like not even thinking about it. They're just, I'm just going to write whatever I feel like. And then it just feels like they're talking about, how do I say this? They're talking about drinking and partying at a club, but it's like, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a beat that is like, na, 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 na. It's like, it just doesn't go together, right? Like the song doesn't match the tone and the beat. And there's a lot of that on LinkedIn as well. Like, some people just write whatever they feel like, and then they're like, "Oh, this is not working. It's not getting any reach, any traction." I'm like, yes, because you are expressing yourself, but there is good writing and there is bad writing. There is storytelling and there is something that no one's going to resonate with. And there is writing for the algorithm as well. We got to take into consideration what the platform wants us to do and what it does not prefer by any means. It's a combination, right, of all of those ingredients. And I feel like, again, if you just listen to hip hop, you're going to see a lot of that sort of construction, that sort of attention level of detail. And I genuinely wish a lot more people paid attention to how they write versus just how much money they made. Because the second they improve their writing, trust me, they're going to improve their connection with their audience. I said, write better, sell better 13 years ago now. That's when I created the brand. Write better, sell better. That's still the truth to this day. If you just learn how to write and communicate better on social media, things are going to be a lot easier for you, for everyone.
Wow. This is so deep. Like we get a lot of, oh, this session is so deep. Like I really good, like, how we delved into like different nuances. We are running overboard. I hope it's okay for you. Like, we are just kind of, ending things here. So I'm just reading out a few comments. So we would love to hear a rap lyrics from you, Yasmin.
I'm retired.
Wow.
No, no
Having a kind of a
raps.
rhythm.
No cool
Copywriting
G
is not
rap here.
writing.
I'm retired. No. Sorry, guys. Whoever wants to see me rap and hear me rap, they got to ride with me in my own car. That is the only place that still hears me rapping and performing. So if you ever have the distinct pleasure or displeasure of sitting next to me, shotgun, right, riding in my car, we're going to turn up the music and you're going to listen to all of my song choices. Some of it is going to be 50 Cent, hardcore rap. Some of it is going to be Kane Brown, very romantic country music. Some of it is going to be the Rascal Flats, music for kids, right? Because of my son. That is the only place you're going to hear me rap, but not on LinkedIn, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. Sorry to burst the bubble.
Okay, on that note, we are just gonna end the session, and I have this one last question for you. What is
Yes.
one spicy tip that you would want the audience to leave with? Probably it's LinkedIn, writing, love, life,
Unfollow more
fatherhood.
people daily.
Yeah.
I keep saying this. I've been saying this for years. Everyone's complaining about when I tell them comment more, and they're like, but I can't. Like, I can't find posts to comment on it. And I'm like, you already have the posts. You're just following the wrong people. Like, you're literally telling me I'm scrolling and I can't find the posts to comment on. This is a sign that you're scrolling on relevant, non-relevant content, irrelevant content, right? Unnecessary content. Unfollow it. This way, when you're scrolling, you're actually always going to see content that is relevant and something that's going to really, really inspire you. That's my spicy tip. Unfollow more people daily. Whenever I share this, like there's an avalanche of comments. Like, why? What do you mean? Like it's counterintuitive. Shouldn't this be a networking platform? I'm like, yes, but it's not about growing your network. It's about optimizing your network. That's why
Right.
unfollowing matters, right?
Perfect. Thank you so much for today. I think everyone had as much as fun as I had, and I hope you had so much fun doing it as well. And
I,
thank you
I
so
did. I
much.
genuinely
Yeah.
did. Good questions, Guja, just so you know. And thank you for being a great host. This was your
Thank
first
you.
live, you said?
Oh my God, yes, it was. I
Was
hope it
it?
didn't show like I was nervous. Oh.
You did great. Genuinely, you
Thank
did
you.
great.
Thank you.
And good luck with all the other speakers you have during your, what do you call it? Summer Spice?
The summer spice,
There we
yes.
go. Good
So,
luck.
yes,
Have
yes,
fun.
thank
If
you.
I have time, I'll just attend in the background and I'm gonna be the one asking questions in the
Oh,
comments. Okay.
it would be, tricky not to see you in the hot seat.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I'll try to ask really good questions. Don't worry.
Right, yes. So thank you everyone. Thank you, Yasmin, and thank you everyone for attending. And my next session is on Monday with Aisha. So I hope to see you there and hit the bell icon on my profile if you want to see the event link. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone. Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.